If you plan on doing Murph this year, stop what you're doing, give me 10 minutes of undivided attention, because today we're going over 3 massive things that you need to do to prepare for Murph and hit your best time yet. Now we're building off of the video that I put out last week on Murph. If you missed that one, at the end of the video, there will be a chance where you can click on the top left-hand corner to go check that out. I will also leave the video link down in the comment section below. Make sure you watch the one after watching this video. Today, we're talking about 3 things that you need to incorporate into your Murph to hit your Murph PR and hit your best time yet. Each one of these is equally as important, so make sure that you don't skip any of these 3 steps. Watch the entire video, and I promise you that you're gonna have your best Murph time yet. You're gonna be prepared, and you're just gonna overall crush Murph. The first thing that we're going to talk about, last week I had you test your mile run. So the first step is we're going to talk about what should you do on your first mile run. So many people make the mistake and shoot themselves in the foot right out of the gates, and they run as hard as they can on their first mile. This is a huge mistake when you're doing Murph. Murph is not a sprint workout. Yes, we want to get it done and as fast as we can and really trying to hit a PR to get our best time yet, but you will not make up time on this first mile. Let me say that again. You will not make up time by running as fast as you can on the first mile. What's going to happen is it's going to cause fatigue down the workouts. So last week I had you test your mile run. 1 mile, run as hard as you possibly can and see what you can potentially do 1 mile run it. Say for you, that was a 6-minute mile. On the day of Murph, you do not want to run a 6-minute mile pace. Especially on that first mile, you're going to fatigue yourself out. Eventually down the road, you're going to run into fatigue and those rounds are going to get slow and you're going to overall just get a worse time. What I want you to do is I want you to pull that pace back just a little bit. So say that if you ran a 6-minute mile, maybe you would pull the pace back to a 7-minute mile or maybe 7.5-minute mile. Like I said, you're not going to set a record and you're not going to get your PR time by running as hard as you can in that first mile. So what does that mean for you? What I want you to do, depending on what you test your mile run in, prior to Murph, I want you to give yourself about 1 minute to maybe 2 minutes more of extra time for your pace. So say, like I said, that you run a 6-minute mile as hard as you can. I would run on the day of Murph, your first mile would run about a 7, maybe 7:30, maximum of 8 minutes. So you're adding anywhere from 1 to 2 minute time frame. What that's gonna do is it's gonna allow you to move and breathe and get your lungs breathing, but it's also gonna allow you to come in right into your 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and get right to it. The goal is not to run a 6-minute mile. You come in and you have to bend over and you're so gassed that you have to take a couple minutes rest and then you go to your pull-ups, push-ups, squats. The goal is to finish that mile, hop up right out of pull-up bar and start those pull-ups. So I promise you that by pulling your mile run pace back just a little bit, you're going to be able to get a better time and overall have a better score and a better time on your Murph. The second thing that we talked about is structuring your 5, 10, 15 around a time frame that you want to get each round done in. So what I mean by this is we don't just want to come in and we're just cooking through 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, if that's how you're partitioned, man. You don't want to come in and you're just ripping through it and going and going and going, and you get through like 5 rounds and like, holy crap, I'm smoked. I need to take a couple minutes rest. That's just overall, again, going to make you have a worse time and not going to allow you to get a PR at Murph. Instead, what you should do is you should focus on trying to repeat the same amount of 5, 10, 15 every so often. So last week I had you test how long it took you to go through 5 rounds of 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. Now what I want you to do is see what time frame it took you. What was the average that it took you? So say that it took you average 5, 10, 15, 1 minute to get that done. And it took you 5 minutes to get 5 rounds done. That's going to tell you that you need to have a little bit more than a minute in order to partition that to get 20 total rounds. So you have a couple different options here, and it all is dependent on what you could do and what's gonna work for you. We could really make up a lot of time by structuring it this way, and like I said, I'm gonna give you a couple different options. So your first option is gonna be your most progressed. You're gonna run through 5, 10, 15 every minute on the minute. For every minute on the minute, it's gonna give you 20 minutes of time, so 20 rounds of 5, 10, 15, but ideally, like I said, you want to be able to stick to that every minute on the minute. So if you could do 5, 10, 15, and 45 seconds, and then you rest 15 seconds, then you repeat that 19 more times for 20 total minutes. If that works for you, that's great. If that's too fast of a pace, the next progression is every minute 15 seconds. So say that it takes you a minute to get through 5, 10, 15, and you take 15 seconds rest at the end, and then you start that next round. Going every minute 15 for 20 rounds is going to give you 25 minutes of rounds of 5, 10, 15 to get all 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats. Say that that is still too challenging of a pace, and it takes you a minute 10 or a minute 15 in order to get the 5, 10, 15 done. Then maybe you rotate every 90 seconds. So you go 5, 10, 15, say that takes you like a minute or a minute 10. You rest that 10, 20 seconds up to the 90-second time frame, and then you repeat that next round. So basically all we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that we can have the same amount of output and not run into fatigue down the workout. Now you're obviously going to run into fatigue, and you're going to run into muscle failure, you're going to run into just exhaustion and fatigue. But the goal is to pace yourself so that you can have consistent rounds and not just spread through like a madman and eventually just hit a brick wall. Because if that happens, what's going to do is those rounds are going to get really, really long, they're going to get slow, and overall it's just going to hurt your total Murph time. So why I had you test those 5 rounds is to see what category you fall into. Say that for you it took you like 40 or 45 seconds and you were able to repeat that next round and 10 to 15 seconds rest, and you could go every minute on the minute. Maybe that's going to be good for you. Or say that it took you just a little bit longer, it took you like closer to a minute to finish that. Then you take that minute 15 and you're going to repeat 5, 10, 15 every minute 15. Or say that it took you like a little bit over a minute and you needed a little extra rest and you need to repeat it every 90 seconds. That's what you're going to go for. You need to find what's going to work for you and what's going to work for your fitness in order to get through those 20 rounds efficiently. All in all, good rule of thumb here is we don't want to be resting more than like 30 seconds to a minute in between rounds. If we are, the pace that we're setting is just too hard. So ideally we want to take about 10 to maximum of 30 seconds rest in between rounds because we always want to be moving. Murph is designed with a pull, with a push, and a lower body squat movement. So no matter what exercise you're doing, it's going to be working different muscle groups. So say that your pull-ups fatigue, you can get to your push-ups. Say that your push-ups fatigue, you can get into your squats. And that's what we're going to talk about in a second. So the goal with this is not to be taking a ton of rest. We kind of just always want to be moving because that's going to help us chip away at the workout, get this done, and try and set our best time yet. The third and final thing that we're going to talk about is structuring Murph in a way that's going to work for you. So most people partition the 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats into 20 rounds of 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and 15 squats. This typically for most people is the fastest way. Now, I know that 10 rounds of 10 pull-ups, 20 push-ups, 30 air squats might sound like it's a good idea, but I promise you, for most people, you're going to want to do 20 rounds of 5, 10, 15. Now, what's going to happen throughout those rounds is there's going to be one of these exercises that is going to fatigue. It's going to start to hit muscle failure. And when that happens, you need to know what to do in order to counteract and still continue to move and chip away at this workout. So for most people, what starts to happen is either their pull-ups or their push-ups will start to fatigue or they'll start to hit muscle failure. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to start off with 5, 10, 15. You're going to go every 60 seconds, every minute 15, every 90 seconds, whatever's going to work for you until you start to get close to muscle failure. So say that your push-ups are starting to hit muscle failure. You're in your 10th round and you barely crank out that 10 push-up. You stand up and do your 15 air squats. Now you need to realize that you do not want to hit muscle fatigue, and the time that you're resting, shaking your arms out, if you hit failure on a push-up, is time wasted that you could be doing another exercise and letting your push muscles rest. So say that your push-ups start to hit fatigue. What you're going to do is you're going to regress the movements and you're still going to get 5, 10, 15, but you're going to split them up differently. So what I would recommend is I would start off with 5 pull-ups, then you're going to drop to the ground and you're going to crank out 5 push-ups. You're going to stand up, you're going to do 15 air squats, then you're going to go back down to the ground and do another 5 push-ups. This is still going to add up to 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. You're just going to break up those push-ups, 5, do 15 air squats, your upper body muscles can rest, your legs are working, you go back down on the ground, and you do your 5 push-ups. This is a way that you can continuously move, continuously chip away at this workouts without resting and wasting a lot of time. Now, I will say that this style of 5, 5, 15, 5 does take a little bit longer just because you have to get up off the ground twice. So you may have to factor that in to the amount of time it takes. I would be quick with your transitions to really make sure that you're not wasting the time. So 5 pull-ups right to the ground, 5 push-ups, stand up, 15 air squats, go back to the ground, 5 push-ups. Be quick with those transitions because it will take a little bit longer than if you're just doing 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and 15 squats all in a row. Now say that your pull-ups start to fatigue. This is one where it gets a little bit trickier. There's a lot of counting go on, but we can still counteract that, and we can still be smart to help you get a good time. So what I would do is if you start to get to the point where you can't do your 5 pull-ups in a row, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do 3 pull-ups. If the push-ups are fine, you're gonna leave them at 10. You're gonna go back to the pull-up bar, do 2 pull-ups, and then you'll do your 15 air squats. Again, just a way that you could separate it into, so you're still getting 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats, but you can kind of separate those reps, let the muscles rest so you can fill up just enough rest to get those reps done. Now, if your pull-ups and your push-ups are fatiguing, this is where the reps get a little bit confusing, but you can still be smart about it. So what I would do is if your pull-ups and your push-ups are hitting muscle failure, you're gonna hop up to the pull bar. You're gonna do 3 pull-ups. You're gonna drop to the ground. You're gonna do 5 push-ups. Hop back up, go right up to the pull bar. You're gonna finish those 2 pull-ups, back to the ground, 5 push-ups, then you'll finish with 15 air squats. Again, it's gonna be a lot of counting. It's gonna be a lot of moving. That is gonna take more time than your 5, 10, 15, so you may have to adjust. Maybe you're gonna add an additional 15 seconds at the end of the round so that you can keep that template, keep that rep scheme. But the main thing I wanna say here is we wanna always move with this workout. We don't really wanna be resting. There's never a time where we should be taking a couple minutes rest. We have our arms on our hips and we're just kind of hanging out. No, we should always be moving. If your push muscles are fatiguing, you can hit your pull-ups, you can hit your squats. So the goal is just to chip away at this workout and get those 20 rounds done and efficient as a time as possible. So main thing, do not sprint the first mile. Make sure that you're smart with your time frame that you're doing your 5, 10, 15 in. Make sure that it's not a dead sprint and you get through 10 rounds and then you just hit a brick wall. And then also you need to know what happens when muscle fatigue set ins. And I promise you, it will happen somewhere. If you know what to do once that happens, you can come up with a game plan and then you can kind of partition the reps a little bit differently, like we talked about, and you're going to be able to continue to chip away so that you can get a Murph PR and hit your best time yet. So if you enjoyed this workout, make sure you hit that thumbs up button for me. And I'm posting weekly fitness content to help you get in the best shape of your life. Leading up to Murph, I'm going to be posting a video every week to help you crush Murph. So if you're interested in that kind of content, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the content that I'm posting weekly. I will leave the link to my other video that I posted last week. If you haven't watched that one, make sure you go check that one up here next. I'll also leave the link down in the comment section below. Go check that one out if you're hitting Murph this year so you can be prepared and have your best Murph PR yet. I'll also leave a link down in the description below to my fitness apparel line. You can use that Jordan 20 code for 20% off your first order. Make sure you check that one out. Go watch this video next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.